You remember Tech Deck dudes?
Hell yeah.
I got a Tech Deck dude right here.
That's cool.
Been a million years.
Show before the show?
Show before the show.
You're drinking water.
I'm drinking water. Yeah.
Boy, a gallon and a half?
Gallon and a half a day. I'm behind today, and there was a day where I didn't track, where I felt like dog shit. But for most, I think starting Tuesday this week.
It's at least been a gallon plus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've been trying to actually exceed a gallon and a half. I only track up to a gallon and a half, and then anything else I have is just gravy.
That's fair. Yeah. Is he allowing you to count your electrolytes toward your gallon and a half of hydration?
He is. Pretty much anything that is primarily water is allowed to be counted towards it. So,
whole 75 hard rules is
only
gallon.
Water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's hard because I feel like as athletes, we got to have some, I don't take what you take, but I've told you that I take drip drops, something like that. Powerade. I cut water with Powerade a lot. Something all the time to make water a little less boring. But also, I feel like we just have to have electrolytes doing what we do. Yeah,
for sure. So, I actually have gotten Ghost electrolytes, and so far I like them pretty good.
Cool.
I haven't talked to Joe about them, but those are the ones that I'm going with.
I think if you look at it, as long as it's a broad profile, I think he'd probably be happy. It's something other than just magnesium and potassium.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll be honest, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. I probably should have, but Desi bought it, and I was like, cool. Yeah. This is electrolytes, and it's not super expensive.
Most electrolyte supplements are probably going to be pretty
similar,
broad.
Yeah.
Compared to like Powerade or Gatorade.
Yeah. But I've still got LMNT in my gym bag for days where it's necessary. So like if I feel like my hydration is lacking, I'll have those, and I'll be like, this is my extra. Or if I have a really tough day coming up, that'll be what
I'm currently doing my pretty loyal to my gallon a day, but I'm still mixing other things in too.
Yeah.
Still drinking my coffee, a Diet Coke or two a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe an energy drink here and there.
I'm doing coffee on non-lifting days and pre-workout on lifting days, and that's pretty much my limit on caffeine. Sometimes I'll do an energy drink. Like today I had a Zoa because I was really tired, but other than that,
I had a late Ghost. Probably more than half the time I'm lifting without pre right now.
Yeah.
I've found upper body days are more fun with pre.
Yeah.
Yeah. But lower body days I really prefer.
Just nothing. Non-stim.
An energy drink at the most. Yeah. But I don't generally I'll take a pump and some beta.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't take caffeinated pre much before leg day.
Yeah.
All I really want's to burn anyway.
Right.
I like that better than I like the caffeine. So like I don't really have to be too terribly turned up. So as long as it's kind of itchy, I like it.
Yeah.
So.
It depends on the day for me. Like this past Thursday, it was Thursday, which I guess we can just go straight into what we did in the gym this week because I'm going to talk about it anyway. Yeah. But Thursday, I felt like I was like dead when I woke up, and I tried to force my way into the gym with extra caffeine and still tried to get all my electrolytes and my water. I felt like dog shit. I went in there. I lifted like shit. It was my deadlift day. And those were probably the worst deadlifts. I sent them to you. Those were probably the worst. I don't know. Well, maybe I didn't. I know I talked to you about it.
Yeah, we talked about them.
They were the worst deadlifts I'd ever done in my life, probably. At least now, like thinking about it now,
just
like
couldn't put it together.
It's something. It just the whole day was just wrecked. I went home. I called out of work. I was like, guys, I feel like dog shit. I'm going home. I'm not coming in. And they were like, cool, whatever. It's not a big deal. But I went home and I laid down. And I didn't go to the gym yesterday either. I was like, still feel like crap. I'm probably just going to rest all the way up to Monday and then just go in Monday on my squat and bench day and just try and be really focused on that, try and make sure I'm completely recovered. Yeah. Also, side point, I'm back up to 242 after drinking a gallon and a half of water for the past 4 or 5 days. So,
yeah, part of that, I feel like he's starting to condition you for a water cut too, potentially, right?
It just depends on what I end up weighing. Like he's going to take over my nutrition for the next 4 weeks, starting Monday, I believe. He's still actually he's got some stuff going on. Obviously, he's not on the podcast today, which is unfortunate because he's got stuff going on. But he's supposed to get me a grocery list and go from there, figure it out.
All right.
So it's going to be.
Is he he's not a vertical guy, is he?
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was vertical-esque.
Yeah, it's probably going to be just like a
Vertical's
general.
got a little bit more fat in it than I feel like Joe Sullivan's going to want you to take.
That is probably true because 15 around the workouts, and it's probably going to be like 30 opposing is my guess. So I'll be like 60 for the day. Yeah. That's my guess. He might give me a little more. It just depends.
60 is pretty low for a power lifter, but he has his reasons. The carbs and protein are just more usable to us right now. You know what I mean?
It may be closer to 90 or 100. I'm not really sure.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would say, if I had to guess, I would say split the difference is probably going to be 75 range.
75.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know there's like a percentage of your body weight that's supposed to be in grams of fat, right?
Yeah.
Just for the hormonal effects. Yeah. I can't remember what the percentage was.
It's probably half. No, that's not half because it'd be too much.
It's less than half, but I don't know.
Probably a third. Makes sense.
It'd be probably somewhere around there at least.
If you're 180, it'd be 60 grams. So I'm thinking he's going to be around 75 grams. Yeah. But
it'll be under. I think it'll be under 100 for sure. Like probably I want to say 80, 90.
For
but
our weight, and I say our because you're really closer to being a heavyweight lifter now than. That's about as low as fat as we can consume and get our calories in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's hard.
Less than 100 is probably ideal, but, you get dipped down 50, 60, that's, it's hard to consume a lot of calories.
Yeah. Unless you're trying to lose weight. If you're trying, which obviously I'm not, I'm trying to keep in the 242s or exceed a little bit.
But even when you've cut general calories and not
just fat.
Not just fats. So, I mean,
cutting just fats is hard.
Yeah, because we had a conversation, and I feel like we're not combative with each other ever, but we're a little bit back and forth on it though. But there was a point in this prep you were like, "There's only so much fat I'm cutting because I don't think it tastes good." Well, and I 100% understand that because where there's fat, there's flavor. Yeah. I mean, so like, when you start cutting, if you're eating lean meats all the time and really clean carbs. You start cutting things out like luxuries out like cheese or a whole egg or something like that. It does start getting pretty fucking frustrating. Yeah. Because a whole egg tastes way better than an egg white. Yeah.
Egg whites really don't taste like anything. Yep. It's more of just like a texture at that point. It's like just like a squishy, almost rubbery texture.
So egg white hack, and I don't know if Joe would be about this anyway.
Maple syrup.
But it's really good. Yeah. Sugar-free maple syrup scrambled with cinnamon on it. Yep. Tastes like French toast, man. It's pure protein. Yeah. The sugar-free maple syrup might make you shit your guts up the first couple times. For real, though, I mean, artificial sweeteners, that's a side effect of them.
Yeah. But I don't take a lot of artificial sweeteners anyway.
Probably just you don't drink any energy drinks, really, do you?
Zoas occasionally.
So
and then Coke Zero occasionally.
So there's artificial, obviously, in those. But
they don't make me sick, though, so I think it'd be fine.
But, if you do that, just be careful.
Other than that, my squat day was cool because I hit 545 for a single, which is my heaviest in sleeves. It wasn't great. It was a little high, but we'll take it.
Not higher than that squat I sent you or last night. Like, oof.
Well,
that was even a kind angle for squat depth, and it was like. Oof. I'm doubling down on that, and I'm sober right now. It might not be by the time my drink's over, but
I mean, I defer to you. It just didn't look like I was thinking you were talking. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I looked at it. I don't know.
Maybe we're just too used to seeing Austin squat.
That's the thing. Like, even looking, Austin squats deep on an SSB for whatever reason.
Austin squats deeper than that on a regular bar. That's how atrocious it was.
I don't know if I agree with that, but we'll agree to disagree, I guess.
For the record, the standard is hip crease below the knee, not at the knee, not slightly above the knee. It is hip crease below the knee. That means, if you're squatting in a mirror, you should see your hips disappear behind your knees at the bottom of the squat. If you're squatting free, when you video it, you should visibly see, the top of your thigh below your knees. Just a PSA for this is a powerlifting podcast.
It is
and we are, skewed heavily toward raw powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
So the standard is in every major federation, hip crease below the knee.
So that's pretty much my week, other than like a sub-maximal bench press that was supposed to be an RPE 9 because I had a little thing going on with my pec. But everything's good now, so I'm not worried about it. I'm ready to go bench a house.
Yeah, so my week was good. So I went to the garage, Tamara's gym, which I really like that place. It was just me and a couple other guys. Didn't even turn the fucking lights on, just open the garage doors. Mm-hmm. And I pressed 365 for a pretty fucking easy set of 3.
Yeah.
My upper body strength is, and my deadlift strength, both of those things are fucking on point right now. Just, I think my squat strength is, what I can tolerate from a health standpoint.
Right.
It's just not what I can tolerate from a strength standpoint.
Yeah.
But I had a good week, hit 365 for 3. That did kind of roast me. So I was supposed to hit a heavy triple on overhead press. Did not do that on a barbell. I skewed just toward the machine, stayed on the machine on Tuesday because I was just a little bit fucking roasted. I had crazy tricep spasms after that 365 press till about Thursday for some reason. Wednesday, I had my SSB squats. They were timed, super light. All of them moved really, really well. Thursday, I was supposed to, again, still recovering from that heavy bench. I was supposed to do a heavy triple on close grip. Stayed around about 315. 315 felt like 355 did the week prior. So I was probably pretty smart by
keeping it low.
Friday was another shoulder and back day. Didn't do anything terribly interesting. That's my planned day to be on plate loaded or machine press and not on a barbell press. I worked up to the stack for a set of 5, which that's a 155 pound press per hand. So that's pretty good. It's not what we're doing on the plate loaded press.
Right.
Plate loaded press seems to be a little easier to leverage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know you're way ahead of me on that, but both of us are pressing 3 plates on that pretty easy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite that heavy, but nevertheless, it was pretty good. And then didn't get a lot of my accessories work done for legs. I'm going to have to do that tomorrow morning, but I did 500 for a beltless double on deadlift on a stiff bar, which was extremely easy. And then Paul squats, I kind of have free reign of those. I just have 4 sets of 3 Paul's low bar programmed and just do it as I feel it. Still a little scared of hurting myself again because I got in my back last week and got in my hips the week before, so I wasn't trying to make it 3 weeks in a row, so I just stayed at 3 plates.
Yeah.
They were really easy. But,
just practicing the movement more than anything.
Yeah, and the one thing I really tried to help this week, and I kind of forgot about it on squats today, but I was working with a client while I was working out. So there was like some time stresses that, because you're sharing a bar with somebody, there's some time stresses that I didn't get to really focus on. But mainly I focused on breathing and bracing and trying to get rid of the upward breath and try to breathe down and out.
Yeah.
I'm bad. I fill my whole cavity pretty well, but it's still an energy leak if you shrug up during your squat. So I really tried to work on that this week, but did not work on that today. It's pretty obvious in that squat video. You can see the bar move 6 inches when I breathe. That's not a good thing. Y'all should fix that about yourself. But didn't work on that today, but I worked on that this week. So I'd say all in all, it's a productive week. I'm coming up on, I have one more light week on everything and one more heavy week on everything. So I'm toward the end of this block. And then I think I'm probably going to go back a little bit more bodybuilding skewed, more than likely, after this. So
yeah. It makes sense. Just try and...
Because the baby's about to be... In 2 weeks' time, the baby will be here probably. So we don't know what the next block looks like because we don't know how often I'm going to be in the gym. So.
Yeah. So it's kind of like play it by ear. Just kind of see what you can handle. It's also just kind of like learning a new schedule entirely. So it's like...
So I don't know what I'm going to feel like or anything like that. So it'll be a little bit more touch and go. Honestly, if I go back to a bodybuilding skewed program and just kind of plan my barbell stuff to be the first lift of the day, I'll probably just hit things as I there's actually more wisdom in this than it sounds, because it sounds like I'm going out without a plan. But on days I feel like shit, I'm probably going to keep it light, sets of 10 to 12, like building rep ranges. And on days I feel powerful, I'll probably work up to like heavy doubles or something on everything. But my plan is to basically take this next block as my body can tolerate it, if that makes sense. Because I know sleep is going to be
huge. It's going to be a big issue.
Yeah, it's going to be a really big issue. So
you just kind of have to adapt to it, get the most that you can, learn to take naps. Naps are hard, though. Especially, I know with you now with the CPAP, it's really hard to sleep without it. So it's kind of like...
Yeah, napping's really out of the question, because I basically have to lay down and prepare like I'm going to sleep a night's worth when I'm in a CPAP. So I thought about, for the nap's sake, trying the nasal strips that you're doing. Just to see if I can knock out on the recliner or something, you know what I mean?
I mean, they're pretty good. Just as far as like opening your nasal cavities and stuff and just allowing breathing to be easier. I know my snoring has gone down a lot. It's hit or miss whether I snore, but some nights I'll completely just be not snoring. Some nights I'll snore like at the beginning and the end of my sleep. Sometimes there's a little more in between, but it just depends on the day.
We'll work that out. I'm even considering a 3-day split, which is unusual for me, but I might go back because my squat needs it. I might go back squats and milk and just grab that 4th day on weeks I have time. Yeah. That makes sense. Right now I'm only tolerating, 2 heavy deadlift days a month right now anyway. So like, honestly, every other week I could do 4, what I mean? And just add that deadlift day. But, just trying to think about something that keeps consistency is the biggest thing. As long as I stay in the gym, I'm not going to lose anything. So,
yeah. And then with squats and milk, you'll be developing like lung capacity and
work capacity in general that I don't necessarily have right now. So,
wouldn't be a bad thing. It's not sustainable though, so you will have to kind of like
but my squat needs enough work right now between being hurt and everything else. I can honestly comfortably say I'm not above starting that at a plate.
Right. And just kind of moving.
Yep. And just basically programming all my strength oriented stuff for my legs into my accessory work, like heavy leg press, heavy hack squats or something. And just staying away from a heavy squat until I get some things rectified. So
makes sense to me.
Even bench press for 2 sets of 12 on that program, like I'm going to have to skew it a little bit lighter, because even though I can hit, 315 probably for a set of 12 right now, I know I'm not going to be able to do that week in and week out. You have to be able to take it somewhere. So I'll figure I'll start 225 on that or so.
Something pretty easy.
About the same on RDLs. So that volume too is enough to make you sore. Even if you're way stronger than a weight, that volume's enough to fuck you up. So
and you can always alternate stuff around to make things a little slower. Like when I was doing it, my variation of it was like, it was squat bench RDL, and then it was like squat, overhead press, heavy deadlift, and then it was squat bench RDL. So like I broke things up a little bit so your bench doesn't progress too quickly. And then you've got a heavy deadlift in there so you're not losing out on deadlift practice. Now with you only deadlifting heavy twice a week, I say heavy, it was 5 singles with like 30 seconds rest or something like that. And I was working with like 475 at the start or something like that. And I still only added 5 pounds. So,
right. Yeah. I don't know how heavy I'll do on that, honestly. Because I just don't recover from deadlift super well. I'll probably keep it, honestly, like I said, do that 4th day, once every 2 weeks or something, and where I do a real deadlift, and then the rest of it would be 3 days a week of RDL, potentially. I might even swap. It's almost combining strong lifts 5x5 and squats and milk, but I might do an A and B workout where basically A, I'm doing squat, bench, bent over row, and then B, I'm doing squat, RDL, overhead press, or something like that. And then honestly, probably what I'll do is I'll just dedicate accessory work wise. One day will be a leg day, one day will be arms and chest, and one day will be shoulders and back. Because you're still getting 2 times a week frequency on everything. Even if your accessory work's focused on one thing. So I don't know what we'll do, but do something to accommodate the baby, though.
Got plans. Got plans. That's the key point. Well, speaking of plans, do you have any planned PR songs?
Planned PR songs? No, and honestly, there's parts of me that's a little relieved that we're not with Joe today, because I feel very unprepared.
Me too. I felt very unprepared this morning, and I was trying to get like a bunch of questions lined up and like trying to do all this shit, and it just like was not coming together because I was exhausted. So I was like, well, this might be a shit show, but you know, it'll be all right.
It'll be okay.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start with mine while you get yours ready.
Go ahead.
So I've only got one because apparently I only found one the 3 times I was in the gym today. But Born to Die by Slaughter to Prevail.
All right. Well, they make the list about as much as the Acacia makes the list.
They're pretty hard, man. I don't know. There's just something about his vocals, especially when he speaks in Russian. It's just like, man, this is some evil shit. Like I can get angry to this.
I really like the mashup he did with Nick Nocturnal.
Man, that dude gets around.
He does.
He just released a new song, or well, he was part of a song. I can't remember who it was with, but it was a bigger metal band name. But I was just like, man, he's popping up everywhere now. He's really popular. He
is, dude. That good dude shreds too.
He does.
To be honest, he's a great musician.
He's very talented.
Dude, I don't even fucking know. I think I did Every Time I Die recently. You know, where's that band at? No, you don't know who I'm talking about. Thinking out loud. There's a band I like a whole lot, mainly because their bass player, because he fucking rips. But there's a band I like called Intronaut. It's a little bit more like progressive stoner jams, kind of in a way. They have a really great record called Habitual Levitations. And it's the last song on the record. But they have a song called The Way Down, and that song just fucking, it's a little slow paced, but that song just fucking rips. I'd probably more prone to listen to that through accessory work and stuff than I had, you know, like a heavy lift or something.
Right.
But that song's really, really fucking good. And then I don't know if the song was made the list or not today, but today I pulled the deadlifts to Muerta by Lamb of God, and that song...
I'm about 99% sure that it has.
It has, but I mean, that's okay, but it's still fucking good.
If it hasn't, we've definitely mentioned it at least once or twice.
Yeah, I mean, just the beginning of that. I like a sound clip a whole lot, but...
It's it goes hard, though. It starts off hard. Like
it's slower paced, too.
It is slower paced, but it's...
That whole fucking... That first fucking... Well, it's not their first, but it's their first real big record. That whole record fucking is incredible, dude.
Yeah.
It is incredible. One Gun's really cool. Man, that whole fucking record is really, really cool.
Everybody knows Laid to Rest.
Yeah, that's I mean, the actual
like
song, Ashes of the Wake, is fucking cool.
It is.
That's the instrumental with all the interviews from Baghdad in it, right? I think Ashes of the Wake is, or is it One Gun?
That might be One Gun.
It's one or the other. I gotta know. Hold on a second. Y'all about to get a Lamb of God's about to get a free royalty from us. But it's completely instrumental, and it's still fucking, dude. This song just, oh God,
just takes so long to get there.
I think it's actually. Yeah, it's Ashes of the Wake.
It is Ashes of the Wake.
Yeah, it's the instrumental. But fucking good. I love that song so much. But yeah, I guess my actual entry though is The Way Down by Intronaut.
Yeah. I've heard them a few times. I don't know if I've heard that song before, so I'll have to go back and listen.
You know, for what it is, because it's definitely a little bit more stonery, because they tend to be a little slower paced, but it's super progressive. The drummer's really good. His name escapes me now. I used to know it, but he played for badass fucking death metal band. I will think of it when all their merchandise is like old school fucking L.A. Raiders, Oakland Raiders shit. I'm trying to think about the name of that fucking band, dude. Oh my god! Here we go.
We're going back to
going back to the phone here. Is Exhumed. He's an ex-Exhumed drummer. Yeah.
Okay.
Fucking cool band, though. Yeah. But that guy fucking rips. Yeah, that's really cool. Bass player plays a fretless, which is really cool on heavy music. So,
yeah,
definitely listen to that. It's cool.
So I told you, and it should have been show before the show shit, but I just saw it on my phone. So I learned some words recently that I wanted to share with you.
Let's talk about it. Are they Urban Dictionary words?
They're not.
Okay.
They are like very, what would be the word? They aren't used anymore. We'll just say that. They aren't used anymore. People don't use these words anymore. But I'm gonna tell you the word, and I want you to guess what you think it means. All right. So can you guess the meaning of the word gentacular?
Gentacular.
Gentacular.
No, I really can't guess.
No ideas?
No ideas.
What does it sound like it would mean?
You get gent in it, right? So gentle, gentleman, something like that. Also kind of sounds like genitals.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fantastic genitals? Is that what it is?
No, but that is honestly, like, that's what I would think, right?
Yeah,
Gentacular. It's like spectacular genitals. Like,
genitals, yeah.
But it actually, well, I mean, maybe. It means related to breakfast. So if you have breakfast and you have orange juice with your breakfast, that orange juice is gentacular because it's related to your breakfast.
Not because we put gin in it, but just because
I mean, you could.
Yeah, gin and juice, baby.
But yeah, I was like, that's a very strange word. The other one, I'm going to pronounce this wrong because it is an incredibly weird word. Ulutrichus.
Ulutrichus?
Ulutrichus. Ulotrichous.
But I don't have a fucking clue on this one.
What do you think when you hear Ulutrichus? I'm going to put emphasis on Ulu. What does that make you think of, Ulu?
I mean, I have a Cthulhu tattoo on my arm. But, I didn't start out with a CTH, so... I don't know, bud. I really don't. I'm lost on that one. These are a little bit more out there than I expected them to be.
Yeah, when I heard them, I was just like, I've got no fucking idea what these mean. So, Ulutrichus means to have curly hair.
Well, this is not at all where I thought this was. Those were both very tame compared to, because there's those floating on Instagram. There's the historical slang terms for different various sex things, whether it's genitals or tits or what have you, or sex positions or whatever. I really thought that's where you were going with it, like the historical, like.
No, these are just strange words that have weird meanings.
All right. Do you listen to Don Healy on Instagram? Mm-hmm. You need to follow him because he gives you a vocabulary word every day, and there's plenty of them like that. If you're interested by that, Don Healy's a good follow. He's one of those people that make you feel smarter for having watched him. You know what I mean?
Fair, yeah.
He's like Dr. Lane Norton of vocabulary.
That's fair. That's fair.
He's pretty fucking good. Good follow.
Good follow. I got one little thing it's kind of old news now, but did you hear about the Mexico City Marathon recently?
About all the people cheating?
11,000 people out of 30,000 people. When I heard this, I sat there and I was like, that just makes me think that even people who love to run try to run as little as possible because they really don't love to run. They just love to have the accomplishment of running.
I'm not necessarily surprised by that because I do feel like, well, a lot of us should do more of it because we just had a podcast talking about how we need more athletic endeavors surrounding our powerlifting training. But that's a demographic of people. If you know somebody that competitively runs, they suck.
As a person,
they're not terribly interesting people. They're kind of a fucking drag. There's nothing else going on in their life. Like this is the same person that's more than likely like the sports fan type that when they go out on a Friday or Saturday night, they're in like head to toe Alabama gear, like Alabama windbreaker and everything like that, and they want to tell you their mile split. Buddy, I don't fucking care. Like,
right.
I got a 1 minute mile split in my car at 60 miles per hour. Like, I don't fucking care how fast you run a mile. Like, you know, you look like that fucking beer glass is too heavy for you. Like, calm fucking down. Right? That demographic of people fucking sucks.
I will say there's a couple people like Mark Bell's a runner now-ish, but he also weight trains and stuff like that. So like
Mark Bell's got a fucking story to tell though. Like,
it's true.
And he's also kind of good at it. Most of these fucking people, of course, the same thing can be said about me in powerlifting, to be honest with you. But I mean, like, most of the people, that are runners, like do 5Ks and stuff, they got like fucking 7-8 minute split time. Like, they're skinny and doughy for no fucking reason. Like, and they just like, I guess if running's your vice, it's cool, but like, I don't know. It just takes a certain type of person to just claim. And the problem is, I don't think any of them actually enjoy it.
Right. That's the
like
thing.
distance running is what you took up. Like,
okay.
Yeah. That's about it.
Interesting enough, I think I was listening to the Mark Bell podcast, and he had an older guy who used to be a very popular marathon runner, and he was talking about how he hates running now and he never runs. Like, he does walking and he does sprints occasionally, but he doesn't do long distance running. He says he doesn't recommend it to people, especially not for weight loss.
I can't think of anything that has more needless wear and tear beyond a certain point than running does.
Yeah, it'll destroy your joints.
If you want to be honest about health, every adult person should have the ability to run a mile in terms of cardiovascular health, probably. I mean, you need to be able to.
You should have that capacity.
You should have that capacity for it, for sure.
But not necessarily trained to run.
There's a reason why, the armed forces went to different PT scores. They still have to do their running and their sit-ups and their push-ups. But, like the Army specifically, they have a trap bar deadlift, they have a ball throw, they have an ammo can carry, they have...
don't they have bag carries?
A dummy drag.
Yeah, dummy drag.
Stuff like that they have to pass. That stuff's much more applicable to survival than...
running.
Yeah, you're not...
I mean, maybe.
You're never going to have to, especially now, like most fights happen in urban areas now. Like, think about like the war in the Middle East and stuff like that. You're never going to have a mile to run.
Right. Because there's going to be cover around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you really need sprints, right? You need to be able to sprint
what you
quickly.
need to is a more durable athlete, and that comes with... Matt Winning talks about this a lot. He trains people in the armed forces. In fact, there's an old Mark Bell YouTube video with Matt Winning on it, talking about his process, his training special forces, and getting them ready for things like that. You need a more durable soldier, not necessarily one that can run further. And even the Army has recognized that, and that's the reason they've shifted. And lo and behold, guess who can't pass all that shit now? They're not strong enough to pass it most of the time. And they're definitely not a whole lot of them maxing those scores out. So, and I know that for a fact because my nutrition shop, my neighbors are Army and Marine recruiters, and we talk about them and whether or not recruits can pass these standards, and then whether or not they themselves are passing these standards. Very few of them are doing it with flying colors. Right. Now, the guys that are recruiting officer, they're generally pretty fit and pretty healthy individuals, and I would say that the guys working there probably can, but it's not even, if it's not applicable to war, I'm not 100% sure. Like, the max amount of survival that you would require as a human being. Like, your life is in imminent danger every step you take. If it's not applicable to that, it can't be fucking that applicable to anything, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, it's all there is to it. I mean, and I think it's funny, and I am minimizing running. I'm doing the same thing they would do to me, to be honest with you. Yeah. That crowd really likes to minimize what we do.
Like, oh, I remember actually, I don't know, this was a gen pop guy. It wasn't actually like a runner or anything, but they were telling a story on the Mark Bell podcast about they were walking with someone who had an all-time world record deadlift. At the time, it was like 800 pounds or something like that. I think it was a lower weight class. But anyway, they were walking through a mall, and somebody walked up to him super excited and was like, hey, do you lift? Are you a weightlifter? And he was like, or something like that. And he was like, oh, well, this guy has a 800-pound world record deadlift. And he was like, oh, is that the one where you like pick it up over your head? And he was like, no, that's the one where you pick it up off the ground. He's like, oh, well, anyone can do that. And it's like what?
Yeah, they have a weird way of fucking minimizing things, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he ended up going off the deep end, but do you remember Elliot Hulse at all?
Mm-mm.
Elliot Hulse had a really, really good fitness channel on YouTube before he kind of. It's rare for me to say this, but he's like extreme right red pillar, like to the point that it's hard to
bear.
Yeah, it's really hard to bear. Like he's kind of insane now, but he had a great fitness channel for a long time. And I remember specifically this vegan runner from like Australia called him out publicly about how he could beat Elliot in a total weightlifted competition of some type. This time, Elliot has moved from powerlifting into strongman. Very, very talented, smaller weight class. He's not like unlimited weight class, but smaller weight class strongman. Very, very talented, very, very strong person. And like Elliot's like, this kind of came, I don't know this guy. It came from left. Durian Ryder's that guy's name, the guy that called him out. He's that nut that like claimed like 40 bananas a day or something was the key to nutrition or or something like. This guy weighs like 140 pounds soaking wet, and you have Elliot that weighs 240. He's probably a 242 or something,
right?
And just absolutely jacked. And because he does strongman at a lighter weight class, has pretty good fucking cardiovascular capacity. Right. And this guy's called him out. I'm like, the fuck you can, dude. Like, there ain't no fucking way. But that's the exact type of thing that you would hear from a distance runner. Right. Like, well, I can do this, this, and this, and this faster than you. Fucking do it, then, bro. Right. like, nobody's fucking watching that. Like, we don't give a fuck, dude.
There's a reason why there's only a crowd at the beginning and the end of a marathon. It's because they don't give a fuck about the middle. They don't want to sit there and watch you run for fucking hours.
No.
They want to see you take off. You were the only
person interested in seeing that.
Yeah. They want to see you take off, and they want to see who wins.
Now, I think that there's some great mental benefits from distance running. There takes some mental toughness that maybe we could stand to learn a thing or two from it.
Sure.
But, by and large, they're bad to get wear and tear injuries and stuff like that, but they don't put themselves in harm's way. They're not really doing anything fucking brave or bold or...
Right.
Well, we talked about this really upsets this crowd, but we talked about last week. This is CrossFit's definition, but I agreed with it about how athleticism is where endurance, strength, power, balance, mobility, things like that all meet. Well, if you think about that, if you think about somebody that's a distance runner that doesn't have enough leg strength to jump up on a curb, they're not fucking athletes.
All right.
They're not. They're as much of an athlete as a fucking pro gamer's an athlete, to be honest with you. Or like fucking race car drivers are more athletic than they are. They endure more physical bullshit over the course of 500 miles than a fucking runner does. They have to handle
the G's of driving at a pretty intense
absolutely.
speed. So.
And, it is what they're not fucking athletes. There's not a thing other than endurance. There's not a thing those motherfuckers check off from an athletic from that list of athleticism.
You heard it here first, folks. Well, probably not.
Honest to God, if any of you want to, if anybody wants to come on here and debate me on that, I'd be happy to fucking do it. Honestly, I can tell you that I probably run a fucking slow ass mile, but I can fucking do that. Your ability to lift half as much if you're a distance runner of what I fucking lift. Very, very fucking small chance of that. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
It's true.
I bet your my mobility's not great. I bet yours is none better doing that shit either.
Probably not. I imagine not.
So, it's just what it is. You're not an athlete.
It is what it is. Heard it here first. I feel like I had some things lined up, but I really don't. So we're just going to... You got anything? You got anything interesting going on that you want to talk about? We can just do another tangent part 2. We came really unprepared today.
We're pretty unprepared today.
Our plans got shifted pretty hard.
That being said, I mean, I think most of the powerlifting world, all our minds on the American Pro.
Yeah,
For the
it's
most
like
part, either as a fan, a spectator, you have people near and dear to you lifting in it now, and we have some hometown heroes that are near and dear to me lifting in it that they don't know me, but they're heroes of mine.
So the specifically, it's the untested men's prime. Men's prime time, I think, is what it is. That flight, it's got huge names in it. It's got Joe Sullivan. It's got Nan Grigsby. It's got Juwan Garrison.
Yep.
There was somebody else. There were two other names that were in it that were pretty big. Who am I forgetting?
Is Derek Thistlewhite not competing?
No, he's not in it. There were two other big names that had a real John Hack. Can't believe I forgot about the GOAT.
Zach Myers guy who evades us for some reason.
Yeah. His name is so familiar, and I bet if I saw his face.
I tried to Instagram stalk him, and I couldn't find him. So,
so I don't know. His name is so familiar, but I can't.
You got all these fucking badasses, though. I'm not going to lie to you. Right now, I mean, the best chance to beat John Hack is Jawan, I feel like.
From a dot standpoint, yeah. I mean, he's probably the closest, and he's going to have to put out like a big total.
It's 750 and something over 500 on bench.
And he's, I mean, I can't remember what it was. I know we were actually looking at to see what he would need to even get close to a 650 dot. And that's assuming that John Hack doesn't improve.
That's the thing. John's going to have a 900-pound deadlift and close to an 800-pound squat. So can Jawan make a difference of 150 pounds on?
Well, he's gonna bench close to 6.
Yeah, I mean, by his own admission, though, watching John and Jawan train, I don't know if he's struggling with. He's got to be good at weight cuts because he always performs.
Right,
Hack does, but he seemed to be struggling with bench and prep.
Yeah, so his bench, the highest I saw was a little over 5, I think.
But his world record's 573.
Yeah,
so. And he's benched 606 in practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that 606 didn't come at 198 pounds.
Probably
come with him over 200. But
the question is, can he cut down to 198 and gain it all back to get where he was for that 606? I mean, he might not press 600 in on meet day, but I feel like it's going to be close.
He would be the lightest man to ever do that, wouldn't he?
Probably.
So. Yeah,
I can't think of anybody.
I would assume he'd be the lightest man for the 600-pound press. Was
at 198, that'd be a 3 times body weight bench press, which is fucking nuts.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking three times body weight squats are good,
right?
You know what I mean? Like that's an 800-pound squat for me.
Yeah,
that's nearly.
That's a 750, close to 750 for me. Like that's if I could squat 750, I'd be ecstatic. I'd be like, this is amazing. Think about a bench press.
Yeah. Oh. So I mean,
you typically you think a 2 times body weight bench press is good. Like you're talking about 3.
I'm not going to root against John because I don't think. Well, first of all, I don't think it's worthwhile because he always performs.
Right.
And second of all, because you want everybody to do their best.
Yeah.
I talk all the time. We talk about this in the context of football. I want to beat you at your best. I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want excuses made or anything like that. So I don't want anybody to get hurt. But I think that it would take
a bad day.
I think it would take Juwan going 9 for 9 and John going 5 for 9, 6 for 9.
Yeah.
To be honest. But I do think Juwan has the best chance to beat him.
I think he's the closest for sure. Not to say, Joe doesn't have a shot or anything. I mean, I just don't know I really don't know what his plans are because I haven't asked him. I don't really want to poke in too much on that sort of context, but he's
I just really, I guess I'm rooting for Juwan because he's from Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be cool if that title came back home.
Right.
And not to mention, I'm only, a couple of people removed from Juwan. So even though we're very much not the same circle, I do feel like our circle meets somewhere. And I just think that, I think it'd be really, really cool to to see that in Alabama. That's it. For it to go to an Alabama boy. That's he's a really nice guy, and it's just really fucking hard to root against Jawan too. You know what I mean?
I don't. The thing for me about powerlifting is that there are very few people that I actually actively will root against.
I can think of one. I'm not going to mention his name on this podcast.
Yeah, there's definitely people that I root against, but they're few and far between.
But again, you don't want to see him hurt.
No, it's not like a
malicious thing.
No, it's more just like, I just don't want you to win.
As a fan and not as a lifter, there are definitely people I would rather see win.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody, the whole powerlifting world is rooting for Dan Grigsby.
Man,
there's not anybody that's not in that guy's corner, right?
There's something about him. There's just something about him.
He's fucking likable. And all of a sudden, too, his last meet, he had like 600-pound squat? Like 660?
I don't know, but didn't he cut really hard for that? Didn't he compete at 242, which is really low for him?
He still pulled, what he pulled. He had a great bench press, but it wasn't like world class.
Yeah.
It was like mid 400s, right? So now the guy's probably going to have closer to 500 pounds on bench, and the chance of him squatting 750 plus is pretty fucking good. And it's insane that an 1,100 pound deadlift and a 750 pound squat and a 500 pound bench press won't be enough to take down John Hack. It's insane to me. We did run the numbers on that. Didn't he have to have like
it was
8,
like
550 and 11 or something?
It was going to be like a 2,500 pound total or something like that. It was an ungodly number for him to get a dot.
Like something we haven't seen anybody other than Jesus Oliveras and Dan Bell do.
Right. It's something insane. But if anyone's going to do it, the guy with an 1,100 pound deadlift is probably
got a good shot. Yeah, I would
probably
say
primed to do it. But
but you still think he's 2 or 3 classes up from John, 3, right?
He's 275, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's competing at. It's probably 275.
I'd imagine.
I don't.
So 3 classes up and 200 pound on somebody else's deadlift's not going to be enough.
Yeah. Maybe.
I think it's increasingly rare in powerlifting. I think squats and deadlifts win more often than anything.
Mm-hmm.
As good of a deadlifter as John Hack is, it's his bench press that wins meets.
Yeah, I mean,
how the fuck are you going to deal with somebody that weighs 200 pounds and they're going to go out there and press 500 to 600 consistently?
Yeah, that's huge.
And I don't feel like we've seen a lot of growth in his deadlift the past couple years, but he's good for 900 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like he might not pull more than that, but he's pulling 900 pounds.
Right.
It's pretty hard to fuck with.
There's a reason why I always say he's probably the best powerlifter of our time. Is just like from a dot standpoint, it's really hard to beat him. Like no matter what you do, you have to do something insane to be able to get close. I
wonder if too. He's a high bar squatter, and obviously has a huge squat when you think about it being high bar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious if anybody else is like, not necessarily annoyed, but a little like bothered by the fact that
he chooses the high bar squat.
Well, not that he chooses the high bar squat, but that there's such, and keep in mind this is still an elite squat, but there's pretty big gap between. He's obviously worse at squat between the 3.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if there's anybody that's like annoyed by the fact that he's just going to go out there and squat what he squats, and he's just twiddling his thumbs waiting for bench press or nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
Like, not that he just like writes that lift off or anything, but like he knows he doesn't necessarily have to have. He has to know he doesn't necessarily have to have it to win.
Right.
Because he's a consistent squatter. Like if he squats anything over 700, he's probably winning. Right.
Right.
So it would take him missing an opener or bombing the meet.
Right.
Us. I mean. To be honest,
I don't know. It's just one of those things. There's a lot of variables, right?
You
never know.
His opener is probably 650, 660, right? More than likely.
I don't know if they've posted openers. I don't know if they have to post them that early. I imagine they don't have to post them until the day before.
Well, I'm sure, but like a lot of these guys will say this is probably an opener, or what have you in a post.
He hasn't been super active, so I don't know.
It's probably dialed in. What's the pot this time?
I don't know.
It's got to be worthwhile, right?
Let's see if we can pull it up real quick. We've been on our phones a lot this podcast.
Here's what it is.
No information. All right. Well, we don't have the information for you, so
it is what it is.
But it's probably decent. It's probably decent.
I mean, you got to think it's mid 600s or heavier.
Yeah, I mean, sure, for sure.
Yeah,
like something, the way, and I don't know if John Hack does the same as Joe, or if there's something, not, I don't want to say elitist, but like if the elites all kind of follow the same formula of your opener is your fourth or your last warm up or whatever, but that's Joe's philosophy on it. So maybe it'd be pretty. I don't know.
I mean, I guess, that's why they have to play the game. That's why we'll figure it out when we figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like coaches can make changes to lifts based on what they need to win.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables going in. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm stoked to get to see hopefully the primetime men's, because I will be driving to Tuscaloosa that morning. So, and then I'll be...
it's your meet day, isn't it?
My meet day is the following day. So it'll be Saturday. So I should be able to get to watch Friday. So I'll be able to see all of our guys lift.
Yeah.
And I won't be able to see anything Saturday. And then I may be fucking tired of powerlifting by Sunday. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very real thing.
We will see.
Just to say this, too, and it ties back to last week's conversation about athleticism. What John and Joe has done better than anybody, and me and you have talked about this a lot, is they have maxed their weight classes out in terms of muscle capacity. So in terms of how they have put more muscle on their frame and stayed within a weight class than anybody else in the game has. So
interesting enough, and I mentioned it when he was on the podcast that never got aired, unfortunately, but he posted his DEXA scan, and he was at 220 pounds of muscle mass on a 240 frame. And he's cutting to 220. It's like how...
Of lean body mass. Yeah. 220 of lean body mass, yeah.
So it's like, how do you get down there with that? I mean, there has to be some amount of muscle loss when you cut that much. There's no way he's going to retain it all, right?
No, absolutely not.
So it's like, man, I don't. That's part of the whole cutting process that I don't think I can wrap my head around just yet.
Yeah, that means if he's 220 pounds of lean body mass, that means he's knocking down 150, 160 pounds of pure muscle in his frame.
Right.
Which is...
Like, you mean skeletal muscle?
Yeah, actual skeletal muscle mass, which is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And you can look at Joe and tell that, but you can look at John Hack and tell that motherfucker ain't getting no bigger unless he moves up a weight class.
Yeah.
Like, he has maxed out the muscle on his frame.
Oh, yeah.
That dude, at any given time, is probably only, a year's worth of prep away from stepping on the bodybuilding stage himself. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it'd take him a year.
You got to think about bodybuilding. You got to think about balance and stuff like that. Like body fat, total body fat percentage. Sure, he could probably do it now. But in terms of balance and stuff like that, the things that they're going to look for, you know what I mean? Like, it would take him training, but like
after a water cut, he looks pretty good.
Well, I know that, but it is a different game.
Yeah,
it is. And like I said, they are looking for balance and stuff like that in a bodybuilding show.
It also depends on what division.
But physique wise, he looks like he could be ready when he wanted to be ready.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's, it's kind of a carryover from last week's, but I think that's where powerlifting's headed. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a much, much smarter approach in terms of health and in terms of pounds on the bar to do as much as you can to max out your weight class before moving up, moving down, whatever the situation may be. I mean,
and you think about it, if you want to win your weight class, that's cool and everything. But if you want to win the day, it's dots based. So being as lean as possible and being as strong as possible, that's going to win you the day.
It's going to help. It helps you. I don't think that him or his coach thought about this, but there was a time Larry Wills had world records at 220, 242, 275, and at 308 simultaneously. That guy is the first guy I remember looking like a bodybuilder and participate. Well, maybe other than like Ronnie Coleman, but he didn't compete professionally like this,
right,
at the level these guys are doing. That guy looked. He was very obviously good at doing what? Doing what Joe and John's doing.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like, that guy could max out most amount of muscle he can in a weight class. When he broke Lillibridge's world records for 308, he only weighed 286 pounds.
Right.
He was a water cut away from competing in 275 and repeating that. Didn't want to because he wanted 308. But
right.
Like, that guy, and you know what he looks like. And he's won bodybuilding shows. I don't think he has his pro card, but he's won bodybuilding shows and shit. That guy, obviously, even if it wasn't what he meant to do, was very, very fucking good at max amount of muscle within a weight class. Dude, I mean, there's people better than him now, but that guy, to hold that many records and that many weight classes is fucking nasty. And the only way you can do that and do it healthy is to maximize that weight class. You need to be as lean as possible and as heavy as possible inside a weight class.
Yeah.
So,
and that boils down to, handling your nutrition well.
That shit that us as powerlifters, we don't want to do.
Yeah. Realistically, and goes back to the beginning of the conversation when we were talking about my fat intake, like, because I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to eat like that. But that's something we can learn from bodybuilders because they have to eat like that all the time.
Well, that's what
constant.
That's what I'm. That's what I'm telling you too. That's what pros have learned from that, and that's why they're fucking winning.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, there's, the super heavyweights is a little bit different story, but you have 275s now. Perseus Black from right here in Alabama is a good example of this. Was a bodybuilder first, extremely fucking lean in the 275 weight class. Extremely fucking strong. 900 pound squat, 600 pound bench press. I don't remember what his deadlift was. I think it was high 700s or in the 8s.
Right.
Fucking outstanding power lifter. And guess what? Fucking as muscular and as lean as he could be inside of his weight class.
And there's also that thing you get from bodybuilding with mind muscle connection, because when you really isolate a muscle and you learn to contract it well, that's going to translate over to being able to use that in your powerlifting.
Sure, yeah.
Like, if you can really contract your glutes and contract your hamstrings and build tension and explode out of the bottom, that's just going to make you a better lifter.
Yeah.
So there is a lot to gain from, and a lot of people say dual athletes are okay at both and never great at
I don't
both.
think that applies to strength sports.
I don't think so. I think that's kind of a dead saying.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily that you're flip-flopping. Like, your powerlifting off season should look like a bodybuilding program.
It should.
And
if for nothing else, just to keep you healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but to that point, and this is kind of getting away from powerlifting to some extent, but they say, like, kids that are growing up, like, that are highly recruited to these major universities for football. The good ones the better ones are more likely to be multi-sport athletes. Like a quarterback specifically, being a position, a lot of those guys, Jameis Winston was a baseball player. I don't know if he was drafted or not. Russell Wilson was drafted by a professional baseball organization, plays quarterback. You have like a ton of people really fucking good at football now that were multi-modality growing up.
Right.
And so you even see this, like, we know this is a fact in other sports. Why isn't it commonly accepted in our sport yet?
Right.
But we know that it's true because we're watching people like Joe and John and Larry Wills when he was still in it go and fucking dominate. I think I really do think that, not that the super heavyweight's dying. I think the fat powerlifter I think that's dying. I really
think
do.
so too. We kind of talked about that last week. It's just, it's a stigma that needs to die. There are still obviously going to be like super heavyweights that are going to be super heavy, whether they're lean or not.
Mass still moves mass.
Right.
But I mean, I'm sure people in the bodybuilding community pick on him for all his flexing videos and stuff, but Jesus Oliveras is awesome athlete, and he always posts posing pictures or something like that. And yeah, the dude's chubby, sure, but that's still a guy that like that guy could lose 60 pounds and probably look pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
like he's still pretty. You can tell by the way that man looks that a bodybuilding based off season is still probably a priority to him.
Yeah.
Dan Bell doesn't look like that so much, but I would be willing to bet that he's not too far off either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is what it is, but
Dan Bell, I feel like, is just kind of large.
He's
like,
just a big person.
He's not necessarily like super heavy looking, like he's jiggling around. He's just bigger built.
Yeah, he is. But I mean, you're seeing 275s do what super heavyweights were doing just
10 years ago.
No, just 2 or 3 years ago.
2 or 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it's about when I got started, so it's all relevant. To me.
Well, originally, I was coached by Brandon. Brandon's best total, I want to say Brandon's best total was like 20. May have been 2450.
Mm-hmm.
Huge fucking total.
Wraps or sleeved?
I'm sure it was wrapped. Huge fucking total, right? Yeah. You have the possibility of Dan Grigsby doing that at 275 is pretty fucking good. Yeah. And then right here in Alabama again, talked about Perseus Black. He was knocking on that door, 2 weight classes beneath him and 100 pounds lighter probably. So, I just think that 220 and 242 has always been the most competitive, but I really do think the new super heavyweight might be 275 before it's all over with. Because of that athleticism. You know what I mean?
I feel like 242 is a little unrepresented. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I feel like it's 198 and 220 that's the most competitive right now.
Probably, yeah. But I would still say though that
I just can't think of
I would definitely say 308 and the super heavyweights are the most underrepresented.
Yeah.
242 is probably a good class to ease in and in between class, honestly. Yeah. I wouldn't want to be that. I'd get my teeth kicked in at 242. I get my teeth kicked in anyway, but I think that's probably where you need to be.
Yeah.
And I think there maybe comes a time that you want to be a 275 or something like that, but right now, muscle on your frame, the things that you're trying to accomplish, I think 242 makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I think you could be a 275 one day. It'd be a lot of work to get there healthy.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue.
That'd be really hard.
At this point in my life, it's more about health than anything else. Earlier, like when I was really thin and it was like 180, it was at all costs, right? And I was also younger and single at the time when I really started going down this road. So it was kind of just like at all costs. Nothing else really mattered because I didn't really have anything else in my life. Now that I have a lot more, it's a lot more about health. Yeah, there are still goals, right?
But if we just talk about what we talked about in terms of maxing out your frame, you still have a lot of work to do in 242.
Yeah.
Before you could, if you get to the point that you're like Joe and you're like, you have more muscle mass or lean body mass than the weight class you're trying to cut to, maybe it's time to move up to be to a 275.
Yeah.
But I think you're in a good position to do that. I don't know how many years it'll take. You got to think it'll be years. Plenty, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think you could do that better than any of us could. But I do think that's. I think talking about this now, when I get really, really good powerlifting clients, I've talked about this a little bit with Joey about cutting in the off season. He's a 275. He sits in the mid 260s. Mm-hmm. Really, probably too far out to cut to 242 and be strong anyway.
Right now,
and we don't really want. He's not really comfortable a whole lot bigger. Mm-hmm. But one of the things we're going to do with him is we're going to cut and put back on in the off season. If next year he comes back in the mid 270s and his 275 looks like it does, his 260 does now, we know we've done our job. Right. You know what I mean? Like that's my old. I think Joey has real 2K potential. But I think that's what it takes. I don't think I'm ever going to be that coach now that condones somebody like Joey going 308 just to be bigger.
Right.
And I know from personal experience it fucks your deadlift leverages up bad. Mm-hmm. My deadlift leverages at 308 sucked compared to what they do just 20 or 30 pounds lighter now. Mm-hmm. I mean, And I don't know it was enough of a shot. I don't know if it helped my squat and my bench out enough for it to be worth it, because I'm a stronger bench presser than I am now, now than I was then. So I don't think I'll ever be a coach now that'll be
pushing for a heavier class.
It's going to be a bigger.
Heavy.
Yeah, we're not going to do bigger. Bigger is not better. No. Better is better.
Yeah,
and that's a Louis Simmons quote. But, it is what it is.
That's what Dots, like we said, Dots wins the day. So like, even if you're a little bit leaner, but you're just as strong, your Dots is going to be better than if you were heavier. So there's just no reason to be heavy for the sake of being heavy.
You're going to roll your eyes at this, and a lot of other people are going to roll their eyes at this too, and that's fine. Because of that leverage change and because it is difficult being heavy, I'm still not 100% sure that Dots is, at least the things that are put in those parameters now, is the most fair way to judge the strongest out there.
I think that's fair. I think it could be.
It is still a bummer to me to see a super heavyweight out total everybody by 500 pounds and still lose the day.
Right. It's the same thing like looking at Dan Grigsby going out there and pulling 1,100 pounds, and
he still needs 2,500 to beat.
Right, John Hatt. Yeah. It's kind of in that same conversation. Maybe Dots does need to be relooked at. Maybe it needs to be adjusted a little bit. Maybe there's.
I don't know. I mean,
but it's also one of those things when you start making changes, it affects everything. It has to be a huge deal. Everyone has to be in agreement. There can't be any disagreements. And there's going to be the lighter weight lifters who are going to be mad about it because their Dots is going to get worse. So,
I think too. Honestly, you're talking about 242 being underrepresented. I think 308 and 7 super heavyweight really are. The only two big names we can name right now are Dan and Jesus, super heavyweight.
Yeah.
I mean, like real big names. We can name probably a few more 275s. And, 242, definitely not. I mean, the fact of the matter is right now, 198 and 220, about half the time are stronger than 242 and 275. Yeah. So until somebody pulls up and does something, I don't know if that's worth looking at right now.
That's also true.
But your leverages do change, and I think that's,
it's something you have to consider, especially if you're a conventional puller. If you're a sumo puller, it might not be quite as...
Being fat does not help the deadlift.
No.
And I know everybody's going to point to strongmen and stuff like that, but when you think about their frame, a lot of them 6'5 plus... They're really not fat for their frame, if that makes sense. Like, they can still get in a good deadlift position. Like, to just be fucking fat really, really hurts your fucking deadlift position. It doesn't so much your squat or bench, but it really hurts your deadlift position.
Just think about, like, when a heavier person complains about putting on their shoes or tying their shoes.
That's a hip pinch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, I get exhausted when I do this. Well, then that's probably not good for your deadlift because you're literally bending down to pick something up. It's just one of those things. We've talked about bigger isn't always necessarily better. We've talked about
I think we're at
athleticism.
I think we're at a point now. If you look at like college athletes, and that's something I go to a lot, linebackers, tight ends, setting the 240s, 250s, things like that. For that class to be represented better in powerlifting, 242 and 275, powerlifting I think is going to have start having a bigger draw monetarily, and there needs to be more incentive for retired other types of athletes to join the ranks of powerlifting to chase that,
right?
To chase those things, to see 242 and 275 grow. You know what I mean? Like,
because generally,
I think it is kind of a gray area. I mean, it's kind of a dead spot in professional powerlifting.
Right. Generally speaking, right, they just pay out to open, right? So these people who are semi-retired are probably closer to masters, right? Not in professional athleticism. I mean, they got people. The average career length in the NFL is like 3 years. Okay.
So you're potentially talking about a 24-year-old, you know what I mean?
Okay. Well, that's a little fair.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they'd leave the NFL for that, but if you saw, I can't think of his name now, but there was a guy out of California Strength that's an American Olympic weightlifter that played fullback at Austin Peay. Not a major school, but he was a really fucking good athlete. He's good enough to play college football. Wes Kitts is his name. He's really fucking strong. That guy moved to Olympic lifting and was really fucking successful at it. They also already have a barbell background if they're coming from something like football.
Right.
But that size man typically typically is, you see more of it on the football field than you see other places.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think powerlifting's growing, and enough of I think a lot of those people could make that change eventually. Yeah. But even locally, the best powerlifters we know, what were they before they were powerlifters?
There's some sort of athlete.
I mean, Austin was a football player. He didn't play college football, wasn't good enough for anything like that, but football background. I'm sure that Jawan had a football background. I think he's posted about it before.
I could see him being like a running back.
Ron was a baseball player, a really fucking good one. Joey that I got now, baseball player. I mean, I might
be like the only guy that was not actively playing sports.
I'm not any good, but I wasn't either, But I do think it's going to have to, maybe as powerlifting grows, you'll see some people pull from, think about strongman, like people like Mark Henry, who's powerlifter, Olympic weightlifter, also professional wrestler. Was it me and you talking about the Vince McMahon conversation about Vince told him if he's going to call himself world's strongest man on the WWF stage, he had to go win it. He had to go prove it. So the last time he competed and won it, it was because Vince McMahon told him, you'll either go be world's strongest man, or you can not
not call yourself
or you can not have a job. I think what the conversation was. So I don't know. I think powerlifting, if it gets a bigger and bigger draw, you'll see more men fill out at 242 and 275.
Yeah. I do remember Mark Henry was this was like maybe closer to 8 years ago or something. And it was on WWE at this point, but he was lifting on stage because there was like this beef with this other guy who was like absolutely huge and jacked, and but they were gonna bench press and see who could whatever. It was like 315 for like 50 or something. It was something insane, and they were just like going. It was like crazy to watch him like lift like that, and it was cool also because it like
Mark Henry was a badass dude.
Honestly,
he's fucking bad man. Yeah, he's one of my all-time favorites probably. But
and it was interesting because he did it so effortlessly. The other guy, he was a little bit leaner, so he was probably like, he looks more like a 275, 308, and Mark Henry's obviously like super heavyweight if we're going from a powerlifting weight class perspective. But like when it was getting to those last few reps, because they were supposed to like match, he was struggling. You could tell his face was red. He was like, reps were slow. It was like, I want to pull that up and watch it again because I can't. I feel like it was 315 for something nuts.
I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say Mark Henry is the last American man to medal in Olympic weightlifting.
Oh, really?
That's a very, very tall order because for whatever reason, we take the drug-free thing much more seriously than the rest of the world does. And the rest of the world, especially in Middle Eastern countries,
pretty lax.
Far Eastern countries are really good at beating drug tests. So much so that, the Olympic committees talked about getting rid of weightlifting as an event because so many people cheat.
Yeah.
The Middle East, North Korea, China, all of those countries, you know what I'm talking about.
They all care more about winning.
They absolutely do. They're fucking hard to beat, and it's kind of cool. Mark Henry, though, I think the last person to, don't think he won, but he's the last American male to medal, I think. It's a huge fucking thing.
It is pretty huge. It's pretty cool to think about. Mark Henry, he's badass.
He was. Did it all.
His theme song is going to be Juwan Garrison's walkout music.
Oh, really? That's cool. That's really cool.
He posted about it the other day. I think it is anyway. I know he said that's his song. Like that's what he goes to when he wants to lift.
That's really cool.
Like, he's an inspiration, man. Mark Henry.
Man.
If you don't know about Mark Henry, go look him up.
That guy makes me really, he's one of those people that make you really happy to be an American. He really is. I feel more fucking pride for that guy
what about
I do a lot of things.
Kurt Angle?
I mean, yeah.
That's his whole thing was America. Like,
I get that to some extent, but Mark did more of the things we're interested in.
That's true. He was a strength athlete, and Kurt Angle was a wrestler.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's pretty impressive to think like he won a gold medal and his neck was broken, and all the other wrestlers knew that his neck was broken, so they went after his neck the whole time when he was wrestling.
And he still
won. He still won. It's like, man, that's.
Yeah, definitely. But Mark Henry, that's definitely a proud to be an American kind of person to talk about for sure.
Just to go back a little bit to the American Pro, there is also the untested flight for women's, which is pretty stacked.
Who's in it?
So Brianni's in it, Hunter Henderson's in it, and there was somebody else. Actually, a random girl that I follow on Instagram. She's been powerlifting for several years. Her name's Sarah Sobak, I think. She's from somewhere like Norway or something. I can't remember. Not here. Anyway, she's competing, and I didn't even know she was going. I didn't even know she had a qualifying dots for the American Pro. And I was just like, holy crap, that's pretty cool. She's a strong girl, but I don't think it's going to be.
What is the qualifying dots? Like 5 something?
I have no idea. I think it's 475. I think it was 450 or 475 for Ghost. And I don't know what it is for American Pro.
Well,
it's got to be high, though.
Got to be real fucking high, right?
Definitely, like, for...
Can't be less than 475.
All of the guys that were on the prime time were close to 600 or better. I think the lowest was like 580 or 570.
John Hack's fucking 660. Or what is it, 650 or 660?
I think it's 651.
God.
Because I can't remember what her name is, but there's one girl that is like a 660 dots or something like that.
Back in the day, well, it was Wilkes, but I know Mariana Gaspari and Steffi Cohen and CeCe Ingram were all the top 3 strongest people in the world by Wilkes at one point. Nuts.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
But that's gonna be cool too. I think that's really it's gonna be exciting, especially for all the ladies that like powerlifting, because that's like the big names. They're all getting together and be.
So a little divergence from what we're talking about. We're talking about bringing a meet to Coleman, Alabama.
Yeah,
started that
for the second time.
For the second time, we did the USAPL meet. Had a really good turnout at a shit venue. The venue was very difficult to deal with, and
it was not.
There's one specific employee too that was a real big pain in my ass. If I knew his name, I'd call him out and tell him he's a cocksucker. Yeah, looking at bringing another one back here, which is really, really fucking cool. Hope that we can do that.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled and your ears open.
Yep, might be one in old Coleman, Alabama soon. Maybe that'll be my coming out of retirement party. You know?
Oh yeah, you gonna compete in it? Can you compete in it?
If it's when the other person organizing it with me wants to do it, no. She wants to do it in February, and I tried to tell her that's way too soon to plan one.
Right.
I feel like it'd probably have to be summer or fall of next year. But yeah,
I would say I would be in there with you, but depending on the time frame.
And there ain't no fucking way I'm competing in February, dog.
No, I mean I wouldn't either. Well, unless I'm just coming to show up, like just to have fun. But like, if it's depending on time frame, right? So I'm competing at the end of the month. Maybe not if. I probably shouldn't say if.
If it was another year out, maybe.
No, if I qualify for nationals. Nationals is probably going to be June, July, or August. And that, I'm going to go to that.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
So, like, it all depends on the time frame of things. Also depends on how I feel and, like, what the plan is. If it's in February, if I'm just, like, got not shit to do.
It'd be hard. USAPL, when I hosted, I didn't qualify for. So I didn't participate in it.
Right.
Among other reasons. But, it'd be hard to not do it again and not want to participate in my own meet, potentially.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know.
Since it's it's one of those things, like, it's in our backyard, so it's like, even if I'm not really ready, I could still go and just, like, have fun.
Right.
Like, a low pressure meet, not peaked for it, maybe just 2 weeks and kind of just, like, mentally get ready for it, but, like,
I mean, I know you're good for 1,500 with the flu now, and you could win a local meet like that probably.
Maybe so.
So I don't know.
I mean, I might be good for 1,600 with the flu now.
You might be. We don't really know, and we won't know until October 27th, right?
That is correct. That is correct. Or is it the 28th? Whatever that Saturday is. I don't know either, man. I should probably know when my meet day is. I just know it's October. I think it's October 28th. I don't know, man.
Sometime at the end of October.
At the end of October. The last Saturday of October. I know it is then.
Well, you want to do some dad jokes and wrap this thing up?
Let's do some dad jokes.
You probably got all the good dad jokes, so I don't ever have any good dad jokes.
I don't know. I just
honest,
save shit.
I'm wrapping this up because I got shit, y'all.
That is okay. We were kind of bullshitting the whole episode. So. Oh, I saved this one early. So I called the incontinence hotline yesterday. Mm-hmm. The lady asked if I can hold for a few minutes.
That's pretty cruel. Looking up old dad says jokes again because I'm very unprepared as usual.
So, alcohol might not fix your life, but it's worth a shot. Had to do that one just for the sake of the show.
I love the way the earth rotates.
Yeah.
It makes my day.
Do you know why you can't hear a pterodactyl go to the bathroom?
I'm reading that one. Go ahead.
It happened 250 million years ago.
That's a long time ago.
That is all I have because you said the other one. Oh, let me see if I can word this one into a dad joke.
Sad news. Did you just tell a sad news joke?
No,
already?
I don't think so.
Sad news, I broke up with my girlfriend Lorraine because I was seeing another girl named Claire Lee. Mm-hmm. But the good news is I can see Claire Lee now that Lorraine is gone. Oh,
that one's pretty rough.
So bad.
I'm trying to figure out how to word this one into a dad joke, but it's pretty good. So...
Don't butcher it.
So my girlfriend asked me to get her a designer bag. Mm-hmm. So I tattooed Gucci on my balls.
Pretty good.
It was hard to word that one. The way they had it set up was more like a video, but I was like, I can figure this out.
We love you guys. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify or Apple. Follow us at Coleman_Barbell or at Nathan Skedios. I've really got a crap. I got to let y'all go. Bye.